You're live.
I'm live from the Dream Show live, or from Parkway Automotive Studios. It's the Dream Show live.
Boom,
Stephen
nailed it.
nailed it perfectly right at 10 o'clock ish. We here, Parkway Automotive Studios. Like I said, Stephen Eakin, myself, Isaac over here on
What
the
it do?
on the ones and twos, the wheels of steels.
So, you want me to tell you why I was up on time this morning? I got up at 4:30,
Isaac
bro.
was late.
Bro, I got up at 4:30. I was getting going my normal time there in the house.
Easter Central.
Do you know? Do you know what the bugs are that are the little like?
Oh, this
I've
is what he's
always,
been
I've,
saving.
I've always, I've always called them kudzu bugs. You know what I'm talking about? Like like they look like a little tiny leaf. They're like I don't
Okay.
know what kind of shape to
Okay.
call them,
I think I know what you
but you know what
mean.
I'm talking about? Okay, yeah. So this morning I was doing my thing. I put out a video for the Mid South, one of the highlights
I
from
saw that.
our boy Sean Applegate trying to catch the big guys.
It's a nice play.
So I finished everything, doing what I'm doing for my morning routine. I go in to like pack up my technology because my all of my footage and stuff, I've been sorting through it. I'm having to do all the file management side of content production.
Mm-hmm.
And so like my computer runs overnight, dumping all that footage and whatnot from PGF, from all the different trips and stuff. So I'm packing up my bag and whatnot. And all of a sudden I have a shooting pain in my left buttocks. That's the left, left.
Other left.
And I'm like, what is that? And I like jump up, I stick my hand down in my shorts, and I like feel like a creepy crawly in my hand. And I like fling it that way. And I'm like, what was that? And so the pain continues. And I'm like, what in the world? And so I start to try to figure out, I was like, did I just get like stung by a scorpion or like a spider bite or whatever? Like I've been bit by spiders and usually you don't feel it in my experience. But this it was that's what I found sitting on my desk was a one of those little kudzu bugs. I didn't even know the things could bite. It had like barbs sticking out the side of it. I think it has like quills that stick out. I don't know. I'm gonna have to ask my
We're gonna have to Google this thing.
yeah, I'm gonna have to Google it. But yeah, that's I spent like 20 minutes trying to like. Have you ever tried to look at your own butt cheek?
Yeah, I guess so.
I spent like 20 minutes. Our mirrors like
You
this
need to-
high
I
in
was
the
about to
bathroom,
say.
so I was like trying to like stand. I was like, if
2 mirrors, bro.
if
It's a 2 mirror job.
lab belch.
I mean, through one thing, no 10,000 thing.
Wow.
It's like a 360 camera.
I'm gonna go grab my coffee real quick. You welcome the people.
He's thirsty and decaffeinated. So running late, got bit by a leaf bug that we don't know the name of. If anybody knows the name of this bug, there's no reward for you. We'd appreciate knowing because I'm interested. I'm about to Google it if I remember after we keep talking. But real quick, pay some bills. Musgrove Trial Firm. Call them 678-226-1994. The best in the business. Can't do better than that. You got to call them up, hit up buddy, chat with them, see what's going on. What's
Call
up,
buddy.
Say what's up with him, chat him up. He likes to play golf, long rides on the golf cart, beaches. He likes beaches and
I like
stuff.
beaches.
Yeah, he's a cool guy. He likes a lot of different fun things. You should definitely hit him up. We're trying to get him on the show, but I don't know how our schedules line up for this one. So we may have to put one in the can from the weekend and bring him on as a non-live show. That way we can just kind of pull it off on there because
Los Tefes hour, maybe.
something like that would be fun. He's been on the audio version that I have
Okay.
on the old show, I guess you would say, sort of. He did that one with me one time during the height of the pandemic when I did like
How many of those episodes did you do?
only like 15 or so, but in a 2-day span.
There's only 15 out there.
Oh, on the whole thing? No, there's over 100 probably.
That's what I thought. I thought there was like a
Yeah, there's a gang of them from before where I was just waking up in the morning in San Diego. And before I would teach my classes and stuff, a lot of times I would just kind of sit in the office and basically do this without anybody else like leading it and just kind of just verbally vomit whatever is on the top of my head each morning from the day before or whatever kind of stuff like that. It's topical.
But I mean, that's like the drill to get to where you are now, is it not? I mean, we
No,
talked about how
obviously,
this
yeah.
has made you better.
Oh, for sure. That was the reps. That was what it took.
Yeah.
And like a lot of that was, and it's funny too. It's kind of like we were saying about the conversation that I was like, I just kind of had to talk to you about the other stuff that we're doing too, but it's kind of the same thing. Just kind of had to get it out there, not listen to it, and just publish it. Just go out there,
Yeah, not
talk, be done, publish, and walk away. Whoa, I'm talking to myself now.
my bad. The mute button. You're good now.
Where'd I go?
We're set up
yeah,
now.
We're cool.
Live.
Hey, we're in here. We're all the way live.
Kai Johnson's in here saying
up, Kai?
howdy.
What's up, howdy? I meant, what's up, Kai? Howdy.
Yeah,
bread.
Mr. Strongbow.
What is the
up?
bread? Why do people send bread?
That's the bread. Oh, come on.
It's the bread eater thing.
It's the bread eater thing. Yeah.
So, yeah, but that's a bad thing, I thought.
Oh man, that is a good point. The Sir Brandon will have to answer that question because
I'm confused. I'm confused.
Kai Johnson's throwing up the bread gang sign. So.
That's what I'm saying. I see people going like bread life out here or whatever.
Oh wait, what bread life? Is that a new thing?
Really. No, I just made that up. But I do see people throwing up the stacks of bread out there. But like, is that I don't get it. Is that money? Because when you're around Brandon or Nakai in person, if they smell bread, that's weakness. So is he? Are you trying to call me weak? I'm confused. I just don't know what you mean.
You don't know how to. If you're supposed to be angry,
right? If I need to be hostile, just tell me, man, and I'm ready. And if you want to, I don't know, just tell me what we're doing. That's what I'm saying.
Kai says, I'm not a bread eater, though. I always respect the bread eaters in our member group.
Fair point. See, that's a real G right there. Respect. I just didn't know what it meant. Like I thought it was the thing. Either way, whatever. Welcome. Now back to the regularly scheduled
fired out
stuff that wasn't scheduled.
10-ish. That's why we put 10-ish. Heavy on the ish.
Yeah, you said you were gonna get here at 10:05. It was like 10:13. Then we had to hook up some wires, and then it was,
bug bite, man.
Boom, got bit by a bug.
Do you think I'll get like superpowers?
No.
Is that not how that works?
No, you might get an infection or something.
Oof. Meet MRSA man.
Yes. Meet Mr. Yeah, you get the antibiotic. That's the superpower.
So what's happening in your world?
Man, just kind of staying busy, really trying to figure back out the stuff again, trying to get the right routines down on everything. Like I was saying yesterday, I had a meeting with a coach yesterday and got a good talking to. You know how it is. Sometimes you got to get coached up in a way that makes you realize that you're not doing your best, even if you think that you are sometimes, you know what I mean? So just like tightening up some places that not sending the energy that could be sent there, just because of lack of focus or lack of desire to in some ways or whatever, maybe. So
doing the cool things hard.
Yeah. Just doing the routine things that don't pay off by theirself is what's hard. But that's the process in everything, right? That's it. And kind of like I was saying, just going out there and recording those podcasts at first, just getting that out there, not editing it, not caring what it was, just having it done was enough to get other things moving.
Content over quality if you're in that game.
Well, and confidence too, and just learning how to deal with it and handle it and what to say when and how to lead conversations. And because I had a couple of guests on a few times, and how to chop up one long conversation, just a bunch of different things trying to do. I don't know, man, just that's
something that's hard that looks easy when people that are good at it do it.
Right. Exactly. And we talked about it before, but wanting to know enough about it that way I can critique what another person's doing for me if I need somebody to do something for me professionally. Like if I have you working on something for me or with me or whatever, I need to know how to tell you to do it better in the way I want it, not just better. Like do it better. Like how? What do you mean? And it's like, well, I don't know, man, just better.
Right. Because they can't read your mind.
Right. Yeah. So learning how to express yourself in a way that makes it, you know what I mean? That you can
Yeah.
take that abstract thing that you have and somehow try to put it into words somewhere, or what you think, into a vision. I don't know. That's the hard part with some of that stuff. And then, really, a big part of it is that dude, I'm just like I think like a lot of people, it's just my biggest critic is myself. Most of the stuff is probably way better than I think that I do a lot of times that I just decide not to do or don't use or had this class that we recorded and then I just kind of deleted the whole thing
Yeah.
just because
Well,
one section was wrong or whatever.
the creator's always the worst critic. And then like the creative mind, like the most talented people I know that turn out stuff that I'm like, I don't even know how you did that. Like they're like, yeah, it's trash. Because it doesn't look like what's in your head. And so
or like that's the thing, like recording a class and it's like you're looking for the substance of the whole thing and then it feels like for whatever reason it's like, oh man, this doesn't really hit. I didn't really say it or show it both exactly the way that you know what I mean? They didn't both,
but maybe it hit
perfect.
On a different frequency
And
that you
somebody
didn't even,
exactly
that you didn't even
again,
think through.
And that was the thing too. It is like I say all the kind of like we do in here too, though, but in class sometimes like I'm really in the moment a lot of times trying to think of what I can say to help people understand what is what, like what I'm trying to get them to understand in some way. And so I have to think of these ways to say things, that I don't really like. I kind of have to make it up on the spot again, it's kind of like ad lib this answer that sometimes sounds like it's really like this really deep answer or whatever, or it's just really just simple, just whatever it is. But you got to be able to like put that up on the spot, like all the time to get them to understand what you're trying to say. But then I'll forget what I said as far as specifically like this phrase or whatever, but I know what I've said as far as coaching you up on mount escapes. You know what I mean?
It's rooted in certain, I mean, it's much like jujitsu in that way of like, it's rooted in some sort of a fundamental thought. Like
right.
You're not just spitting.
Well, and that's what I'm saying is like trying to express the fundamental thought, but also in a way that it gets to the individual. But you got to speak to a broad room of different people with different body types and different intentions, or so that's the thing, that every reference doesn't get. But then that's the thing, a couple of days later somebody will come back and they'll repeat me what I said on Monday and it's like, oh damn, I forgot I said that. That's pretty good. I need to remember that one because it made it stick for him. So that was one that, okay, that was a good, kind of like we talked about with the stand-up comedy thing, is like where they're up there and they're telling jokes or whatever and people don't laugh and they're like, all right, maybe not that one. But then when people really laugh, it's like, all right, make a note. It's like, all right, I'm using that one again. That. It's like just trying to.
Well, on the student side too, like there's, I mean, how many people did you go through before you found somebody that you resonated with that like hit you in the same ways that like.
Well, there's been a bunch, and that's what I mean. Is like it's different, and then there's certain people that do certain things better than other people,
right?
And at certain times, you need different types of people to tell you stuff. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like what you're looking for. Sometimes you need that kind of person to tell you whatever. You know what I mean? Their truth about it, and then sometimes that boils down to you not really wanting to do that, or now that that's what you would do, kind of stuff like that. And so you got to be willing to be open-minded, and that's the hard part, right? Because as your coach or as the coach in the room, in my room with my students and people who are under me and all that kind of stuff, there's an element to where you need to rely on me more than other people right now. I understand needing more information and wanting more information. And I definitely get like wanting to have it confirmed or looking for, just to confirm, just like fact checking, and for lack of a better term, that's just smart practice, not just to go blindly into anything. But then we've talked about it a lot of times. What level of exploration or not is good, and then what is good? Is it what kind of environment is it? What kind of room is it? Is it a training room for?
What's your goal?
Well, that's what I mean. But each person's goal is different.
Yeah. But like at the end of the day, if you're like, for me, it's not necessarily even, it's like the variety of information is so that I don't get bored with the one track. But I understand the argument against it. But it's like I've tried other directions and my brain shuts off. And that's like in everything. So like that's how I teach myself stuff. Is like I'll learn like 2 or 3 other little projects while I've got one big project. And so like it's just how do you learn? And so if you learn and you can figure that out and get that example from like what you're talking about, like the proofs in the pudding. Are you getting a result, this result? Well, like if I'm not getting whatever result that is that I'm looking for, well, then maybe I should vary it up, or maybe there's a part that does have a hole in it. And I think that like you're talking about the person, there's got to be that person that's at the center that can poke that hole for you. And it doesn't bring the whole thing down. It's just like, hey, tune this one spot up. And that's why.
But then at the same time, it's I can see it. What's the right word for that? Not even, I don't want to say like crush their spirit or whatever, but you can see to where the resistance, I guess I would say,
Yeah.
that resistance, and then that's what I mean. This
There
is
you go.
right, and or yours too,
Or yours, or
so,
but yeah,
so
yeah,
that
yeah.
and that's
Or
what I'm
a
saying.
reflection of yours.
And
Yeah.
that's the hard part is what I mean is like we could easily talk about you because you're sitting right here, so that way nobody else feels like I'm talking about them.
Yeah, we're talking about me.
Just hypothetically, whatever.
Sure.
Like that's what I'm saying. Whatever it is, like you like this thing. Like, of course, we saw it. Yeah, I helped. I was there when you learned this armbar from guard or whatever. Like, yeah, I was there. I helped you learn this armbar. Yeah, for sure. Well, I saw somebody else do it like this. Okay, that's fine. Like that works. Obviously, that works or whatever. What do you do next? Stuff like that, and try to lead you to give me answers to the questions that I have as far as what's technically going to happen next.
Because essentially that's what jiu-jitsu is, right?
Right.
It's
But
question
then,
and answer.
but then that's when you'll see people like they'll ruffle up and want to just get you to agree
Right.
that they're right.
Because it's the way. And
Because it can work. It can work.
It's a way.
And so then how much of that should I allow you to just do? And so that's what I'm saying. And I know you're saying like it's what's your goal? It's what's your goal, right? And that's of course it's true. That's very true. But what if it is something that, like for instance, you leave today, you pull out of the driveway or whatever, and you go to Target, and you end up in a situation where you need to use your stuff somehow, and I let you leave without trying to correct you harder on something. And then that something could get you legitimately hurt or killed or whatever kind of stuff like that. Because your goal is not to be a sport guy. Your goal is to be safe and just having a hobby and stuff like that. But when you hit the ground, you going to do this weird thing that is really dangerous. But whatever, just do it. You know what I mean? Whereas I feel this really strong urge a lot of times to just sit there and just be like, Isaac, not, just like,
Right.
dude, just like, listen to me. I know you can do that. I was you. I know what you can do.
Right. But like, so that leads straight into the question that I have to follow that is what got you to that point?
I don't know.
So it's like this. I've heard a couple different conversations where people have talked about like, how do you keep a kid from like they were talking about like kids growing up in wealth, they're growing up in different scenarios of non-struggle, quote unquote, or something like that. How do you keep that kid from not being a turd? Because like the people that are having this conversation, we're having it from the viewpoint of like, well, I came that way by not having anything, from having a tough childhood, or having like that's where my character comes from. And I think that, it's all in the motivation of the cult. Like, and this boils down from like family to gyms to like businesses to anything, that it boils down to the culture that you breed from the get-go of like what is acceptable and not, as far as that goes. And so it's like, if you're talking from a gym standpoint and from what you're saying, I think live training is the answer, is because we all know that the fake stuff gets answered in a live scenario of, oh, okay, I know the weird thing that you're going to do and I'm going to shut it down. And so you, as, and this is from my viewpoint as somebody who learns in a different way, is you can let the people that want to explore that, and then as it gets shut down, they'll throw it in the trash eventually, and they might end up with some super odd like developmental stuff on the other end, along with, if the whole time you're hammering home the fundamental stuff, and then like your culture is showing that the fundamentals work, the people that are your like championed folks that are going through that program are the ones that are, you know, deemed as successful, and they're going out and proving. And so competition classes, and then people that go and compete, I think answers that question. But you have to breed a culture that like allows for that growth.
But that's what I'm saying. What if they don't want to compete though? What if they're not a competitor?
I'm saying that the gym inside
the
gym, they can see what works and doesn't work through the ones that do want to. And that's where the team aspect of this sport does come into play in my mind. Is like, that's where the sport, because we need those guys. We need those ladies and stuff that train in just because they want to do the culture, because there's more benefits to this than just the sport. This is why it's different.
And that's what I'm saying.
Right.
And so that's what I mean. Is like, I'm not telling you either way. It's a genuine, like,
the culture of the program.
This is a thing that I think about a lot personally. This is my back and forth that I have. If I swing one way or the other, this is something that for me, I struggle with wanting to allow the creatives to create, but then also you need to not waste that time, because it is a huge waste of time, a lot of it. So then
it's yeah,
you know what I mean? It's like, what do you do then? It's like, because then you have a person, and just for an example, let's say, do you, like, it takes 10 years to get a black belt. Why?
I mean, I know that's a suggested number.
Just saying, like, just in general, but like, why would it take 10 years? Would it be because of the way that people learn, or the way people are taught?
It's because of growth. It's because you have to go through those things. And I think that you have to go through those. The black belts that I know that took less than 10 years, and I don't mean any offense to this, but like, in my mind, it's like, how have you had time to go through all those different evolutions that I've seen black belts go through, that like day 1 through like year 10? Like, it's just like being a human being. Like, in a decade, you're a different person with a different outview. Or
for sure.
Yeah. Outlook.
But that's what I mean though. And so you spent 2 years chasing nothing.
How many times did you do that in your real life?
But then how many times did you wish you had somebody that was a good mentor that could have stopped you and reined you in appropriately or whatever?
Could they have though?
That's what I'm saying. Is how much of it is we're too left to our own devices because of the way society's set up, and we think everybody's just sink or swim anyway. And
so try to talk to 22-year-old you. Could you have changed your mind on something?
Somebody could have. That's what I mean. Dude, I have been looking, like, that's what I was doing the whole time, was looking for that thing.
Yeah, but there's things that don't, like,
there was people that definitely definitely moved the
Right,
needle,
but some of
like
that's timing,
100%.
some of
Well,
that's
it's all
the
timing, and that's what I
lessons you've
mean.
learned
But that's what I'm
already.
saying. And so then how much of that is timing is the pressure somebody puts on you
But how much of the bad timing is because you just weren't ready? Maybe you did have the opportunity. Maybe it's like the lesson repeats itself until it's
until it's
learned.
learned.
So
Exactly.
maybe they did and you didn't listen.
Yeah, oh, I know that already. That's what I'm saying. I've already seen some of these things start coming around now, where it's like, all right,
So let them
so
play,
it's like,
is my opinion.
I mean, I know that's your opinion, for 100% sure. I know that.
I don't think that I surprised anybody with
Nobody,
that.
yeah, but that's what I mean, and I want to still allow those types of things. Of course, it's super important for the culture overall, and that's it's a personal experience anyway. You know what I mean? So that's what I mean. I can't tell you just much like your emotions or whatever. I can't tell you how you should feel, right?
Right.
I can't tell you exactly how because you're not me. So like even if you put your arms in this right position or your knees in this right position, you have a old shoulder injury, so you can't do that quite as well.
So
Or what, and then it's like, but then we're making caveats for the things that really keep you safe, and then so it's like, how far are we willing to go to accommodate versus keeping it real? And then are we accommodating too much for a person and it's not allowing them to face that realness
the
of
ones
stuff?
that know the way should show the way in the way that we have the ability to in jiu-jitsu in that
It
like
just takes more
regard.
time. That's what I mean. And you're right, but like this is the thing that
Some people will
experienced
take more time.
no, but like experienced schools have the ability, have the luxury or whatever, if you will, of the experienced student base being able to be in there and help. Like we have Taylor for the most part. A lot of times he's one of the guys that I can count on a lot to spread good information, even if it's on the wild side of things. If somebody's getting a little bit off base or whatever, I can trust that even if he's over in another field with them somewhere, that they're still tinkering with it fundamentally. But there's other people I see them going off, and I'm like, you are 4 steps from anything that's gonna be viable against most people.
So how does that sort out in live training though? Like live. And what I mean by live, I'm not meaning like go elbow them in the face. Like there's ways that you can make somebody suffer that's making fundamental mistakes because you're
Oh,
like, oh, that's a
I
cool
know
move,
that, and
right?
that's what
I
I mean.
know,
Like
yeah.
and that's what I'm saying. But then it's just that thing, That's what I'm saying. It's they have to get that realization in some way or the other, and I just really want them to get it without having to be wasted all their time, or excuse me, or finally just hitting this wall really hard, which is, I know that's all part of it. That's what I'm saying. Is like I get it, but I'm asking more of, I guess, like a rhetorical question to where it's like, man, this is really good, but
Well, and I mean, yeah, like that. I don't see it can't be. It's like the parents that try to shortcut it for their kids, and they
100%.
like they
That's what
it's
I
the
mean.
exact
Like
same
you
thing.
can't do
You're
that, right?
just gonna shortchange them. You're
I can't.
just gonna
You have
you
to
can't
feel it.
interfere.
You still have to feel it, even if I'm saying it doesn't matter. But then you have to believe me to try it.
And part of it's too probably the development as you as the coach too,
To a
because a
degree,
younger coach
I have
would
to learn how
intervene,
to
and you have to
say,
learn how to time it and learn. Oh, this isn't the time to tell them because that's what I've learned from you and from Brandon and watching how y'all like recognize talent and how you like nudge it over instead of it being like too much. Like it's a different feel.
it's a very
It's a timing.
it's a tough balancing act, I
Right.
guess, is what I'm trying to express more than anything else, because each individual is different. And, there's some people that want me to tell them a list of steps to get to the end of this. And it's like, that's choreography. Like, and I don't like the rules that people set out. But like, then, like, I was speaking with Brandon about it, and he's like, well, okay, so you don't like to like have rules or whatever. So then think of it like this: you want to get an armbar, these are the best practices for that. And if you have these 9 things, you have an armbar. If you don't have all 9 of these, then you may not have an armbar. And the less of these you have, you know what I mean? That much further away from it.
You have to read the book before you can throw it out the window.
But then that, right. And then that makes me
I think
want
that's
to
a famous artist.
go into the mini seminar stuff again, where I would just be like, sit there and like, I'm just like, all right, this is an elbow. It moves like this. If you grab it here and here, you can twist. And I'll just sit there for an hour and we're looking at somebody's elbow, and we didn't do any jiu-jitsu.
Yeah.
But that's jiu-jitsu to me. It is learning what that can do to a person.
So can not one class a week be like that?
Yeah.
So there's space for it.
It's right. There is, but then I don't know. That's what I mean. Like that's the thing.
Like,
is
even
like
you as a coach, like in the
I have
coaching,
to be there.
Yeah.
Like I have to be there.
So I had this. I didn't even really plan on talking. I actually plan on talking about this with you later, but like this is right in line with a thought that I had earlier. Like I've noticed a lot because of the scene that I've been around, is that most of it was run by the blue belts and the guys that would open the gym that had keys, that were the moppers and and that's who was running the practices and opening up and whatnot. And so what I've noticed a lot is that a lot of these guys they can just get up and go and they can roll for hours and they have fundamentals, but then like nobody has a game because nobody built the game. They just roll. That's all they ever did. And so they can just roll and they're great, fun training partners and stuff like that. And I'm not talking about anybody specific, but I'm just saying that like, how do you make guys like that good? Oh, you take them and teach them a system. And like, I'm somebody who hates systems, hates rules, but now I do understand that like, if you fall down that wormhole, understand the system, then you can go and like play with the system.
You got to know the rules before you can break them. Like, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
And so that's what I mean. Like you're out here doing all these things, Isaac, and I'm telling you, that's not even in the field of what we're doing. You're way over, and like it's like, but this will work, and it's like, yes, but not until you do all these other things.
Right. But like I'm the one that has to run by and fail. And then like and I had to learn that about myself. It took me 29 years to figure that out.
I know that. And you're still figuring it out.
No, yeah.
And I want to help you cut down on some of the pain though. Like,
but some of it you can't. Some of it is what's going to make me who I am.
Right. But then there's a difference between blowing your arm off and
I stopped there.
Getting a little bit of the hair burned on your arm.
Right.
There's a difference. You know what I mean? And so it's my job to only make sure you burn your hair a little bit or whatever.
Being the person that I am, how I've not
level. Like, and then again, this is all like me rhetorically, because it's not there is no universal answer, I guess.
Right.
This is why it's hard.
Right.
It's because like for you, Isaac, I know what I'm dealing with in a lot of different ways. And that's different than it would be for somebody like, say, Zach Barnett, who he likes to know what's up.
Yeah.
He likes to have order. He likes to follow instructions and do what's supposed to be done. And then he also wants to know that it's right, though, if somebody's telling him to do something, because he don't want to do it, even if you asked him to, if it's wrong. He wants to make sure it's right, or there's not another way, or whatever.
Yeah, see, that doesn't even cross my mind when I'm doing anything.
That's what I mean.
I'll find out if it's right or wrong.
But he wants to be right. He does.
I know. I don't care if I'm right.
Well, he does, and that's not a bad thing either way. Like, it could be either way. That's what I mean. So I can't coach you or him like each other, but y'all train together. Y'all are drilling the same stuff at the same time. So I have to tell y'all to shut up and do what I'm saying, but at the same time, allow you to be upside down with your face in his butt. Like, I don't, you know what I mean? But it's like, well, this happens right here. And it's like, yeah, but that's because you're an idiot. This
isn't wrong.
And it's like, but it's like, but people do this. And it's like, but I get it, man. They do. And that's not.
And some of it is people don't do this. And it's like, that's kind of why I want to see why.
Right. And that's okay too. But then also.
But that has danger. And so like in my own life.
It's like the danger side.
But even in my own life. And so like, God bless my parents. Like there's been times where there's never been. There's things that have kept me from like, over the cliff per se, but like, and I can't tell you really what that is, other than the fact that I've had that freedom to wonder in that way. Haha, LOL. It's almost like it was haha. But it's so that's what I mean from a coaching standpoint. And I see out of both you and Brandon kind of that growth of allowing people to kind of find their own spot in the art. And that's what always turned me off of jujitsu class. I always loved jujitsu. And I nerd out with anybody about jujitsu. But like what turned me off on the traditional class is that it was so rigid. It was so like this, and I get it. That's they make world champions that way in every sport, in every discipline, in every art. There are artists that's how they do art. It's this way or no way. That's not art because mine's art. And the funny thing is that we call this martial arts. Well, the art side is that there's another side to it. There's another piece of it. And so like that's the piece that I want to exist in. Now, I also exist in the aspect of like, all right, this is really cool and it's really neat. Now, wouldn't it be cool if it really worked? Because like I'm the kid that watches the martial art movie and I'm like, yo,
and see that's
dangerous. I know
that's the danger zone. That's where you lose yourself, and that's the
yeah, you can
for sure. And that's what I mean, though.
Or something crazy's created.
Yeah, but then again, how much time do people waste after that universally?
Oh, people waste their entire life on it. People die from it. Like that's rock, that's art, that is what we're talking about, or me at least. That's that piece. Like that's what makes good music. That's what makes good. Like nobody wants to listen to the happy go lucky stuff. I was listening to a Joe Rogan earlier. I don't know. Apparently he's still on Spotify.
Hot take.
Still on Spotify. You know?
Ah, you listen to Joe Rogan? Wow.
Oh.
Wow.
Wow.
I gotta get out of here.
See y'all.
Man. No, I get it. And that's what I mean. There's and I know that too, which is part of the thing. Is like I understand that there is multiple ways, but there's really only one way though.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
There can be.
No, I mean, but like I said, if you don't do this, then you don't have it.
Have what?
It.
What is it?
That's right. That's right. So what is it? What are you? And that's the thing again and again and again and again. What is it? What are you after? What am I teaching you?
Right.
Am I teaching you an armbar or am I teaching you to practice excellence?
Are you going to go try to armbar Gordon Ryan?
If I had to. If I need to.
Boom. We're in the reels business now, dog.
I mean, you know what I mean? Will I do it? Will I be able to finish it on him if I do those 9 things correctly?
But can you do the 9 things in the moment?
Against somebody at his level?
Right.
Probably not. That's why I didn't win a world title.
But yeah. Yeah.
You know what I mean? There's a difference between the people that do and the people that know.
No,
and there's no and that's a different conversation, right?
That's the difference between world class and artist.
Yeah, and
you can be both, right?
Right, and that's the rare, like super upper echelon of people, right? I think I got as far as I got because I'm super tough, but then I'm also a thinker. Like I knew that my toughness would get me to certain points of the match that I could now overcome them with my wit and my strength of character and how smart I was because I knew they would give me all these mistakes once they got tired or whatever happened in these given scenarios. I rarely ever I can't think of any matches or fights for sure that I went out there and just like ragdolled somebody. Every fight I had, even the ones I won fast, took a couple of
cost a little bit.
It took a little bit of something trading off to get the advantage.
But isn't that even a lesson there that you can pass on to the fact that no, even if you win, it could still cost.
Oh, that's the lesson. That's what I mean. That's for sure. But that's what I'm saying about that one.
Do you think you would know that lesson?
Does hurt you
if you didn't walk that though? Do you think if it had been easy to you, if you had gotten tomato cans all the way to the top, and then this, you get there and it's not really what it's all cracked up to be? because that's kind of what happens.
No, that's what I mean. Like
You're like, oh, I did all that to my body for what?
for nothing,
Yeah,
for realistically for nothing,
right.
uh, except for all this information I have.
So in turn, like, good
Well, that's what I
forth.
mean.
What were you there for?
Thankfully for me, I don't. For a lot of like that, and that's what I think too is the goalposts moved, and the different things that I was there for literally would change all the time. Sometimes I needed community. Sometimes I needed to get exercise. Sometimes I needed to go like hard with people to exercise some frustrations and demons or whatever. And then sometimes I needed to go chill and relax. And then, sometimes I needed a shoulder to cry on.
So to answer your beginning question, then yeah, you need all those. Like so like that's the point. It's not to correct them, it's to be every single one of those roles, or at least provide them in your community. So like if you're not that guy that can like, or lady that can like, console somebody, well, make sure you keep somebody in the circle and like make sure you encourage that
It's a
person to be that person
bunch
for
of things
people.
to do,
Right.
And I see guys that are out here sort of, and again, we'll talk about you, like independent guys that are at a certain level, purple belt level, stuff. You're out there at, an advanced rank and stuff, but you don't have a coach all the time. And so you're still just doing it on your own a lot. So even though whatever you have guidance and stuff and we talk and we train together and things like that, we're not together every day in that way, one-on-one and stuff like that. So that makes a difference. Having somebody that you're always in the ear with like that too, from early belt to high belt or whatever helps. If you have a guy that's coming in and training and not there a lot, you've got to kind of figure out the biggest parts of it all and try to put it together.
Yeah.
Is the hard part.
Well, and like
you both have to kind of agree on the middle ground somehow.
Yeah. Well, and like not like this is just from me personally. So like not everybody that's in my situation that trains like I do approaches it this way or even thinks about it this way. But like that's very intentional. Is because like early on, my jujitsu, and I watched it happen to other people, of my jujitsu depended on a person. And it even has boiled down to like a place of like that's the only way that I could go and do jujitsu and have this thing that like made all aspects of my life better was dependent on a person, on a central like aspect, and that one little hub. Well, when that changed, I made the decision, and like I made the decision for the wrong reasons, like looking back, but I made the decision based off of like a selfish reason. But I made the decision to go out and be, go experience as much of what I thought was the broad spectrum of the art as I could. And in that path, like in that journey, is where I kind of figured out of it's not an insult towards you as a coach or anybody as a coach. It's more of just my jujitsu is never going to depend on you. It's going to be complemented, built, modeled, not modeled, whatever you're contributing to the world. But I'm always going to find a way to train. And that was the whole aspect of why I did the way I did. Now, I see the whole full circle that I'm coming in of the reason I felt that need was because nobody was providing the things of the foundation. So like what I'm trying to do now is like circle that all back and go, no, I don't hate where I'm from. I just want to make the things that I always wished I had a reality. So like that's all intentional, but it's not that. And so it gets misunderstood. And then like there are guys out there, that's like I'm saying, is that there's people out there that do approach it entirely different. They float from place to place for whatever reason, but like that's why I do it. And so there's definitely holes in it. I've had holes in my game. I've had problems. I trained at an IBJJF focused gi school while I was trying to fight. That doesn't make any sense.
A lot of people do that.
Right. Because I did it because I was just following models, and there is no model out there for it. So I was just like, maybe this is what I do. And so like I think the best thing that you can do is that you paint the picture for them, and then you're loud enough, turning back, going, here's a way. There's some ways that I've seen of other successful people. Here's some ways of some people that have failed. And I think that when you talk about that from like a kid standpoint and raising a kid, is a lot of people hide the real world from their kids. And so I come all the way back to what I said earlier of like me and like what kept me from going. My parents never hid real life from me. Like if it was hard, if we were going to a hospital because somebody was dying, if I was sick, like I mean, from my own personal story, if I was sick and like they didn't know what to do, like they told me. They didn't hide it. They didn't soften it. And so like if you just but you don't have to create trauma to create like interesting people. Life is just hard as a human being. So if you just show that to them, they find all the other good parts. And so that's what I mean by live training, live ideals burned into your gym, not from a malicious standpoint of no, this is what it's really like. So let's treat each other what it's really like, but not with a malicious intent, so that you understand this is what you're up against. So cool. If you have that cool thing that helps you express and makes you love it more, do that thing, but make it work. If it doesn't work, you'll eventually trash it because you're getting beat up.
I guess in jiu-jitsu, it's different in some ways than it would be for fighting in MMA and stuff like that with that mindset.
I don't think training just to be an MMA fighter is the answer. Unless, like we said, what's your goal? Do you want to be the world champion as a whatever in MMA? Maybe the person you are, you need to train like Michael Jordan and be Michael Jordan.
Right, but the consequences of that exploration are permanent. And you can't
I think that's on the
take some of
promoters.
that back.
I think that's on the promoters.
But that's also, again, that's not for me to decide.
No, I know it's not.
And so that's what I mean. In my room,
I won't go sit. You don't go sit in their corner for them for that. They understand that because that's loud and clear. If you're a loving person generally and everything like that, and you're like, I can't back you, and you tell them, you're honest with them, I can't back you if this isn't the path that you should necessarily be on. But if they're doing the thing, and like I said, there are people out there that you ain't going to change their mind.
No, I know.
And so like, it's like, all right, look, so here's the impossible task.
What level of commitment from me should you get if you don't give me a level of commitment to try to do what I'm asking?
Put forth the commitment that you want in an open air.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I mean. It's like there's this thing to
what do you want? If they can't,
are you looking for? Who are you looking to for your information when you ask? If somebody gives you information, or when there's information to the contrary or whatever, what do you do with that? Do you immediately dismiss it as they don't understand me? Or do you say, maybe this is something I should look into and explore that idea further? Because I think that's one of the disconnects a lot of times too, is that people think they know.
Yeah.
I've seen that before, Coach. You've showed me that before, Coach. Right. It's like, yeah. But you're doing the thing I said wrong. You're not doing any of the things I said right. Well, it's working. Yeah, and now I'm gonna have to hurt this guy's feelings because he sucks.
Yeah, you have to tell
it works on him because he's trash and he doesn't know anything yet. And I'm sorry, man, you don't know anything yet.
They have to. Well, both those parties have to learn that lesson, and maybe that's the time they learn it.
It stings a little bit, and that's what I'm saying. Like there has to be that level of like, you got to feel that wound at some point to understand it, and it needs to be from me, hopefully, more than from the outside world, to where you get that message before you get yourself hurt.
Well, like, that's what I'm trying to figure out. But it may not be up to you there.
No, it's not.
That's what I'm saying.
It's just like, and it is. It's like being a parent. You know what I mean? There's these things that I want to make sure that I can protect them from. But at the end of the day, they're going to be out there experiencing those things by themselves. They can only rely on what they've seen me do and the experiences that they've had and the information that I've given them, or the things that they've gathered from the other people around them and that they've made up in their head at that point.
Yeah, because they're their own little.
So that's what I mean. Is like it's the same thing. Like you know, around like I said, purple belts, whatever. But once you start getting that deep white to blue belt, that's when you find this thing. A lot of times,
yeah, because you think you're good
because you started. Some stuff works kind of, and you know, you beat people a little bit, but there you only beat the people who aren't any good.
who are on your, and then you grab a hold of somebody who's good, and then you're like, well, maybe it's just because I don't have the
Right.
technique right, or maybe I'm not strong enough, or
Right.
maybe I'm not
Exactly. You
like
don't.
that.
It's
So that's what I mean is they have to go through that themselves. If they don't go through that and you tell them, they won't. There are people out there that you can tell them and they read the book and they're like, oh, okay, I understand. But mass majority of humans don't learn that way. Evolution doesn't work that way. I've always wondered who ate the thing that came out of the chicken's butt first, and how many other animals did they eat something before they were like, oh, this is the thing.
I mean, a lot of them probably you only came from somebody who did that and was allowed to long enough to
Yeah, but who
procreate.
was the first person that watched something drop out of a chicken's butt and were like, I'm gonna eat that?
One of your ancestors for sure.
I mean, have you seen my forehead?
I mean, it's all of us. That's what I mean. It's like it's all of our ancestors. You're not from a person that none of us alive today are from ancestry of people who died soft. Everybody here is from somebody, like I said, who lived long enough to be of age to procreate and have a child.
I mean,
There's
some royal families that I could argue different, but yeah.
What do you mean?
Super pale,
You still made it to that age though. Like I was saying, it's like you still made it all the way to that certain age, and now
so your ancestors were killers of some sort.
To some degree, right? At least now, when they interbreeded themselves out, then that's when they
okay. When they got greedy,
but
when they started trying to
they're
buy
not
it.
here anymore. That's what I'm saying. I'm talking about right now, the ones that are here right now, and even the people who are
at some point. Okay,
that's what I mean. No matter
I
what,
understand. I can
no
agree
matter
with you
what,
there.
like
Yes.
no matter what. And so then that's the thing, though. At what level does that get bred out of you? Or whatever. When did we become docile, or whatever that is, and civilized in
when we
certain ways?
when we tried to start softening the lesson. If we try to start softening the lesson, which a lot of people do,
right? So that's what I'm saying. Like, how do you do this thing then?
And from a coaching standpoint, sometimes you're dealing with a 35-year-old.
That's never.
That's
had a
already
hard lesson.
been. That's already been you're in
that's
the
my
first
problem.
hard lesson.
That's my problem.
I caught up.
The 25 to 35 category that's not been pushed
right
yet. 20-year-olds, I'm old enough now that I can look at those dudes and be like, man, listen to me. You're young. I'm old. You know that. I've been you. Right.
Yeah.
People that are about that age that I mentioned, 25, 35 or so, they're kind of close enough to my age and they think they're adults enough and they know things. Graduated college, maybe they didn't have a couple careers or whatever. They got a decent job or something like that.
Lived through.
They're a manager at their job or something like that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
They got some responsibilities.
People listen to them.
Yeah.
They tell people what to do or how to do things.
Right.
They're not the one that gets told things. They know.
Yeah.
And that's what I mean. And like I think there's a few ways that happens, right? And it's okay. I remember being that way too. That's what I'm saying. It's it's okay. And how do you deal with it though? And then I do wish, and this is what I'm saying to you like earlier, I do wish that there were a few times somebody would have stopped and sat down and like put me in my place. Because honestly, that's what finally happened with Richie. And when I finally just like got it.
So do you have any memories of people trying to do that to you?
Not directly, no, because they weren't strong enough, most of them. Because I was too rogue. I was too Ronin.
Yeah.
I was by myself and nobody could tame me.
And it also had to do with probably the environment. And so I think that people that are worried about their kids.
It was all alphas. And I was bigger.
Their version of alphas.
I was really big. And so unless you were, and this is the thing, the only guys that were better than me were smaller. And so I could match that with my size. And you couldn't convince me hardly.
That was the measurement of a
exactly.
man.
That was the way. This is the way. I can beat you up. It doesn't matter. I can beat you up. You can't beat me up.
Right.
But it's like, dude, he's tiny and you're 250 pounds. Of course, it's going to be really hard for him to.
And at the end of the day, the physical dominance aspect of life doesn't really serve you.
It's nothing. Yeah. He can teach me how to do everything I do better.
So like, so that had.
And I wish that person a couple of times could have been found for me.
Yeah.
And maybe they weren't thinking about it that deeply yet either.
And or maybe the timing
it was. And that's what I mean though. And so like everybody needs that thing sometime.
Yeah.
And I need to be able to time it for everybody.
I think the only way that people find that is outside their comfort zone, and so sometimes that to like circle all the way back around again is that like
No, but
you have to
then
push them out. You have to let them.
and then they get pushed out all the way.
Yeah, prodigal son.
They're all the way out though, like
Prodigal son.
out of the door.
That's what I mean.
Gone.
They might not come back.
Yeah.
But if the lesson was meant for them, then they will.
Right. But then that's what I'm saying though. That's not quite what I'm looking for. But
it's not the answer you're looking for. But
no, that's what I'm saying. It's like that's not what I want to say. Right. But that is the answer every single time.
Exactly.
That's what it boils down to.
And they have to go learn.
It hurts my feelings to have to say that out loud when I think about it. And if I think about any situation, like, and this is the thing, is like anything like that that's not serving you and it's only creating more trouble for you, and you're putting too much energy and focus and time into something that's not reciprocating anything back, and then that's bad.
Right.
You should let that thing go. Person, thing, job.
Some people have to burn. Some people have to feel that to understand that.
Yeah, no, for sure.
And some people get stuck there.
And I have a hard time because of my own issues of whatever, of letting people go, because I don't want to lose that thing, the opportunity to make it right. As long as they're around, you can still make it right. But if they go, there's no guarantees. And there's no guarantees either way.
I think
that's the comfort that you have to be into right there. It's like, I got to push you, Isaac. And listen, this is going to hurt a little bit.
Yeah.
But not physically.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? This may sting in another way that's going to go home with you or whatever. And then you have to be able to come back and look me in the eye and not be mad at me for hurting your feelings, because being corrected hurts your feelings. Like when somebody really corrects you, it hurts your feelings a little bit because you really are surprised.
Yeah.
Like you don't know. You know what I mean? That's the thing, is like they really don't know. They're not doing it on purpose. I don't think. And that's the biggest thing. It's like, you just don't know. You gotta, and that's the thing. They can't get it.
Well, and I'll give credit where credit's due on the fact that like I grew up with a dad that was like that. Like dad and I, like in my like 16 to like 25 years, like 16 to 25, like, yeah, like we weren't homies. As far as like, I knew he loved me. I knew that he was looking out for me, and I knew he cared about me, but like we didn't agree on a lot of stuff. But now, like, I've come back around on the other side, and I'm like, oh, like you were looking out and you were trying to like give me a heads up. And so what I was going to say is like, I think some people come at that with good intentions. And I think that does need to happen. And you just need to understand that sometimes that's going to be met with resistance. And then if you're consistent and that you know that the opening is there, it's like I referenced a minute ago, the prodigal son whole story is that like you know that I can come back. Like, you know that like I'm not gonna mess up to the point, and I have enough of the like compass to where I go out and I feel it, but then I come back. And I think that you can take that story and you can take things in many different directions of like, well, I mean, the prodigal son could have saved himself a lot of trouble if he had just paid attention and listened and not been so overly eager. But at the end of the day, like it's that whole, and I mean, you get real big picture on this and you talk about the whole like unconditional love. It's like, what does that really mean? Because so many people would say that, but does that really mean that? Do you really mean unconditional? You can't screw it up. I'm always going to care about you as a human being at the core to your soul. And I don't think a lot of people mean it. And they try to. And then when that animosity gets met and you're like, you're not hearing the thing I'm saying, that's your ego fighting back at them because you want to be right still. And at the end of the day, it doesn't matter who's right. At the end of the day, it's going to happen, and you've got to like let that lesson play out, or it's just going to be longer and more painful for whichever side, because both sides are learning something in that.
But who's right?
Doesn't matter.
Then what do?
You do the, like I said, the open, unconditional, like it's not going anywhere. Like this, if you truly believe what you believe and you believe this is the way and this is how to do it and this is what not, then that should be an open source for people to come back to when they're like, you know what, you're right. I went and tried that thing. It was really dumb. It didn't work. Can I try that?
Yeah, no, for sure. That's
Because
the
if you're
thing.
like, oh, well, I'm right, and you're gonna go get beat up, you're an idiot. They're not gonna come back. They might.
They may or may not, right? And that's the thing, trying to figure that balance out. And then for you, circle it, we'll go a little bit deeper into that since it kind of came up. And it's the thing that happens, I think, with a lot of teenagers and whoever, young men for sure. But like for me, same thing with my dad or whatever. At a certain age, around 15 or so, I realized I was smarter than everybody else. That was it. I didn't have to do anything else now. I knew how to get by. I could get by doing just enough, and nobody could figure it out. Nobody knew that I was slacking, except for my dad. He knew. He always knew that there was more. There was always more that I could do because I was always lazy. Because I realized, you know. Uh, but there came a time, right before I was 21, he died. We never got to have that conversation.
Right.
I never got to tell him that he was right. I never got to say, you know what I mean? So I never got to sit down and say that. So it feels really important always. And so that's the thing is like, you say unconditional love, you say love in general. To me, it means a lot. Like when I say it, I mean it to people. Even if I don't know you that well, if you're a part of my life or whatever, I have love for you. I may not love you as much as other people in some ways, but it definitely affects me when I see people that I know going through things, even if I haven't known you in a long time. Like I haven't been around you, but if I see you going through something or hear about that or whatever, it affects me. And I wish that there was something I could do to help you. But I know that you can't help everybody. You know what I mean? You can't do everything for everybody. And so that's one thing I've had to leave behind. I've done a good job of that for a lot of things.
Because it can tear you up as a person.
It does. It ruins me. It does.
Can pull your pathway off.
It did. It ruined me for a long time because
you chase trying to be that.
I chased trying to help everybody and trying to help everybody fix stuff.
Exactly.
And that's what made me valuable in my mind to other people was that I could help them fix stuff.
Right.
But then nobody, like there wasn't any reciprocal stuff on the end of a lot of that stuff. And sometimes. And then at the opposite side of it is just like somebody that like tells you things that really that really cares about you is going to tell you the things that you don't want to hear. Mm-hmm. Like they're going to tell you that you're wrong and they need to stand on it though.
And that's a hard place to be.
That's what I mean,
saying it.
But that's what I mean, though, is like for you, like we're talking about, is like you got to kind of let them go and come back. It's like I know that, but then like there has to be that day though, because now I'm the dad, where I have to look at my son and be like, dude, you cannot do this here. This is unacceptable behavior, flat out. What is that? Yeah. That's still love, though, but I have to make you leave to feel that lesson because you're not gonna listen to me. You're not doing it with me. You've
taught it enough. Like it's one of those things that if you've taught it enough, and it's like I said, it's burned into like a cultural aspect of.
Oh, I know it works now. That's what I'm saying. Is like, like
when they get to that moment,
just like you said, like you now have a great relationship with your dad,
right?
And I think now I definitely would too, because I could call him and be like, "What about all this stuff right here?" And then he could tell me all that stuff, and I could know that he probably is right about it more.
Well, and I think too, it's like it's important for your like when you're talking about kids, but like even if you're talking about a gym scenario, like we're talking about this, is that the community is the big important thing of like what do they see outside of you, because it's human nature, we question everything. That's stories, religions,
for sure.
Everything's questionable. So like if they live in this world that either you're the only thing they see and then like copycats of you, good or bad, I don't think that's a good thing. I think they need to see good, bad, ugly, failures,
for sure,
successes. They need to understand what it looks like so that they go, oh, okay, because they're gonna question it. They're gonna like, God, I mean, I could only imagine right now being a parent with a kid with Google.
It's tough.
You can't just make it up on the spot.
Thankfully, right now, Thomas is really into keeping up with the weather.
Okay.
So that's,
So he's just watching weather bugs.
he's mostly just letting us know what the temperature is going to be like, if there's any rain coming up.
That's
you
useful.
know, where the stuff's at.
That's useful.
It's super cool. But that's the thing, is like it's because we've kind of, I mean, and I'm not saying he's perfect like that way. He'll go, and we've kicked him off YouTube, or he's been banned from the TV.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like there's all kind of weird things. So it's like, it's not like, oh, we're perfect. He's perfect. It's like, but that's the cool thing about it though, is like that when he does that, I don't say anything about being on the computer or whatever he's doing. There's no like talk about being on there then.
So
But
are
if
you
he's
aware of his
wasting
stuff? Like,
the time,
do you know what he's on? Like, do y'all talk about his shows and stuff? Like, are you kind of not into it, but like enough to where you could hold a kid's conversation about it?
to a degree.
Yeah.
To a degree.
I think that's the answer. So like, this is full circle and it just hit me like a lightning bolt. So I just interrupt you. I'm sorry.
Fired.
Damn. Anyways, is the involvement. Like
Right.
that's one thing, like going off example, like I said, like with my parents, like if I'm involved in something, they're like, all right, cool, what is it? And they'll sit down and they play the game with me. I remember when I was a kid, I still can't find that game, Dad, and I want to buy another one. But did you ever play Perfect Dark?
I don't know what that is.
All right, so it was a game on N64 that was like the very first one that you could have like reactions to where you shot them. So like you shot them in the foot, they'd be like, oh, and they'd hop up and down and hold their foot. Or you shot them in the shoulder, they'd be like, ah. So like, and
high
then,
level.
All right, yeah. So like, get a hold of like 9-year-old me. I'm like, hey, Dad, watch this. You shoot them in the crotch, and they're like, oh. And I remember I don't remember if that's the reason, but in my childhood head, that's what stuck. Of like, that's why Dad took my game. I think I got in trouble, but like, that's what I mean. Is like my parents would pay attention to what I was doing. And so like as a coach or as a parent or as somebody like paying attention to what they're learning and what it is, and not just like scoffing at it and being like, but like, all right, let's see why you find this interesting. Oh, okay, I see this, and that. That's just trash, right? Oh, no? Okay, you're going to find out in 10 years that that's trash.
Yeah.
And move on. Like, I mean, everybody went through their pop punk phase. Everybody went through, letting those lessons just get taught by the culture. But being involved in it enough to where it's not just an argument that you don't understand.
Right. Right. You got to be able to get down there still.
Right.
And that's the thing. That's the thing. Because everybody knows stuff. That's the problem. Everybody knows. But you can't teach somebody something that they know.
Well, like everybody
already know.
thinks they know everything.
That's what I'm saying. It's like, I can't teach you something that you already know.
I got this box in my pocket, yo. It's never wrong.
How was that made?
Exactly. I can Google
how did that get in there?
Yeah, that is a good point.
Like, that's what I mean. Without that, what would you know? Nothing.
Oh, yeah. Most people, yeah.
And like, that's what I mean too, is like, I saw this video. It's like, that's the same thing I show. You paid $200 for that.
Yeah, but maybe they have to learn. Like maybe.
But no, and that's what I mean. Is like they need it. They needed something else. They needed the confirmation. They needed Gordon Ryan to say the same thing I said, or they needed Brandon, or Boogie, or Eddie, or John Donaher. Or
I don't get the whole video culture because
someone
that's
else.
not how I learned jujitsu. And so like I make videos and I make subscription videos and stuff for people, and I don't quite understand it. I've gotten to where I've gotten studious about my jujitsu, and now I get it. I'm like, oh, cool. Yeah. If I had like and that's what kind of why I started filming, was to like film the information, because I'm terrible about writing stuff down. But like that whole culture originally to me was foreign. The seminars were the same way. I when I was a blue belt and stuff, I never went to seminars. I was like, sit there and listen to a dude talk for 4.5 hours. I could roll for 4.5 at an open mat.
Right, exactly.
But I had to go through that, and I had to go, oh, okay, there are seminars out there that are not worth it, but there's definitely ones that you're like, I'm going to that one because that's going to be 4 hours of information that I can't get anywhere else.
Yeah. And so that's the balancing act every day.
Right.
Every day, every class is those 15 to 30, 40 personalities at a time trying to figure out how to get one lesson to all those people that is going to stick. but they're all in a different place, thinking about a different thing, mad about something else, whatever. Don't want to be with this partner. Don't want to, whatever with that person. You know what I mean? And I've got to navigate all that every day in a way to make it stay on point.
I think if you navigate it for yourself as a coach, then it'll bleed through and allow them the structure to navigate with you.
Oh, for sure. I think I'm doing a good job of it back and forth because, like I said, we went down a lot of roads with everybody, and now I'm realizing where the gaps are.
Yeah,
it's like now we're trying to turn around and get back home, and it's like, oh, y'all didn't clear this well enough. We got to stop here and do some work to get back. Like, got to clear a better path here. This is too narrow.
I forgot to teach a white belt how to frame before he went into a thing because he was doing well and submitting everybody with these crazy moves that we had taught him.
And see, that's the thing, frames.
Yeah.
People don't know anything about frames.
Speaking of which, Dave said you can't stay tinted unless you stay framed. He said that like an hour ago.
Well, he's still there, I bet.
Oh, yeah.
Well, David, what do you know about frames, right? You're going to get that ass framed out if you're not careful. So you got to stay in there and stay connected. Not let them push you around. David's a small guy. David's one of our light guys. He's had his hands on a guy that's right at 400 pounds now. He's been training for about a year and a half. The dude like hit him with a clothesline twice and like thrashed him to the ground and was just like mauling him like a bear. And David was holding on, and like you could see that look of like, holy crap, this is intense in David. You know what I mean? That moment. And that's what you're saying too, right? He's got but he felt it. And I was talking him through the frames or whatever, how to get this in, get that in and move out. And then as soon as he got out, the guy just like slammed him down again. And same thing, Dave, you got to do this, you got to do that. You can't do this, you can't do that. And when he did it, he got back up to the feet, and the other guy was just tired and about to pass out. And I was like, choke him. And he choked him. And, and the dude had at least 250 pounds on him.
Right.
Now, that's it, right? That's the move. Would that have hurt a lot worse than the concrete? Yeah, for sure. But the same things are still true. You'd be alive. That's what I mean. The same things are still true.
You don't have to go back and choke him. You can just get up and run away.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But you can choke him if you need to.
If you need to.
Right. Exactly. So that's what I mean. Learning these things can apply universally to every situation.
And how long has Dave been training though? Like that's
18 months. June. So I guess I say 18 months, a year and a half from when he was there day one. He's day one guy.
Some people train their whole career.
Is one of my first guys.
Oh, he's one of the OG. Yeah, he's in like the day one picture.
Yeah, that's me. He's gonna be one of the first people that are my blue belts only. Yeah. That have only trained with me, except for a little bit of cross training and stuff like that. They've never spent time.
They started
somewhere else. They've never been in-house anywhere else except for with me. Never and no wrestling either. That's what I mean. Like it's a different caveat that I like to think about myself personally.
Yeah,
because it's a different person.
Experience.
It's a different kind of person.
Totally different student. Totally different. Yeah.
Because for example, Seth, who wrestled to his whatever level he was at in high school, it was only high school wrestling, but he understands mat awareness and how to move around. Right, exactly. Versus a guy that if it was Seth's age, body, when he came with no wrestling.
Yeah,
it would be much harder.
I grew up an athlete, and so like I came in with just a little bit more of that than the guys that come in and don't, like, because I've seen the difference of like the guys that have never done anything, and it's like, oh, this is their first realization of that. So like,
he's one of the people, David. And sorry if you're listening, I'm not talking trash about you, but he's
much love. It's all love.
He's the measuring stick for me for how good we're doing overall.
Oh, because it's day one, all right. What you didn't know anything?
He is the guy that we talk about that jiu-jitsu is supposed to be for.
That doesn't know anything.
He's not bigger. He's not stronger. He's never been the athlete. He's not a powerlifting guy or anything like that.
Gracie jiu-jitsu.
He's learning the power of using his body correctly and being in the right positions and different things like that.
Jiu-jitsu.
And it's hard for him because of that. And because the athletes come in and they catch up with him and they're bigger and stronger day one.
But imagine.
In 10 years.
Exactly.
But he believes me.
Exactly.
And that's what I'm saying.
But I guarantee you, David,
he questions me.
I was going to say,
he questions me.
He didn't always.
But no, he questions me to my face sometimes. That's what I mean. Yeah. Like, but that's what I'm saying is like, but he will, if I sit down and I'm like, no, you have to try to do this. He'll be like, but I don't know how. You know, it's like I
That's the
don't know
involvement.
how.
That's the involvement.
And that's
you
what
take the
exactly.
time.
And it's
You
like,
sit
all right,
there. All right, let's walk through it.
Let's sit down.
Why does it not work for
and
you?
you have to, and then, but whoever have to be willing to sit there with me and struggle to try to do it.
And eventually
I
they
have
will.
to try to struggle to explain it to you differently than I just did.
It's like it's the path.
It's like, yes, 100%. And so what, it's like there is no perfect way to do anything, and every situation is different. But overall, this is how you keep people off of you.
Right.
Like, that's it. If you do this, people can't smash you. What if they have 200 pounds on me? Well, it doesn't matter.
There's things that are fundamentally true.
If you do these 9 things, you have an armbar.
Yeah.
Flat out. No matter what position you're in. They may just be armbarring themselves then.
Air goes in and out, blood goes around and around. If one of those things ain't right, you're dead.
Dead. It's death. Just squeeze, right? It's like, that's not technical, but it can work.
That's how we get people alive in an ambulance. Just correct one of those 2 problems. If one of them's wrong,
for sure.
They'll stay alive till the hospital.
Cutting them off, right? But that's what I mean. So, like, you could talk about chokes, and you could say, well, just get your arms around his head and just squeeze, or around his neck and just squeeze. And it's like, well,
right. There's right ways to do it and wrong ways to do it.
And then there's the guy that's going to, like, hold his breath until you give out your grip or whatever, because you're not on the blood.
Exactly.
And so then it's like, well, now your arms are blown out and you're done. So, yeah, what I mean? It's just those lessons. That's what I mean, is that you can't shortcut it.
You're right. You don't learn that lesson if you don't blow your arms out and get beat up.
That's what I'm saying. And that's the hard part of trying to rein people in, because I see it. I see you running straight towards the cliff, and it's like, oh man, I've already said something. I've already said something twice, actually.
Throw them a parachute and hope they open it.
See what happens. You know what I mean? And and then hopefully you'll ask.
The person that gets, like, to me, and like, I'm not necessarily, like, one of the things I've taken away from you a lot is talking about the fact of, like, who are you in somebody else's story? And, like, I'm not the hero of your story. I'm not the center. I'm the one on to the side. And so, like, the person that I am to that, or the people that I am to that, if I'm throwing you a parachute, you've already shown me anything that I would ask for. And so I'm going to throw you a parachute. I'll drive 7.5 hours to come corner you for nothing. I'll come sleep on your floor and, like, help you make it. But if you don't cross that, and, like, I learned this again, lots of shouts out to Pops today. Like, I learned this from Dad of, like, you might not even know that I'm not throwing it to you. I don't have to tell you that, all right, well, if you're not going to listen to me, I'm over here. Like, all right, you didn't do the thing, then you don't get my effort. And that's all I need to know.
Yep. It's pretty easy in that way.
But no, it's not.
It's hard.
That's hard.
That's what I mean.
That's very, very hard to practice.
It's easy to say, but it's hard.
That hurts.
Yes.
Sometimes.
Both. Yes. It hurts me.
Because it's like sometimes you have to do that to your homie.
No, for sure. Like, you have to cut people, and that's what I mean, is that this whole thing is all centering back to that same thing. It's kind of like boundaries in a way, or whatever.
Because it diminishes what you do give to other people if they see you give it to the person that doesn't do the thing. They don't respect it. Right.
They don't respect it.
Like, oh, well, this isn't valuable.
If you don't respect me enough, then another person is going to see that, and then they're going to do the same thing.
Yeah.
And so that's what I mean. It's like, it's not that you can't do what you want to do. It's that you got to, like, show me that you want to try to do it a better way, or a different way.
Actions speak a lot louder than
words. Or that you're trying to improve it, and not just I can't, or that won't work for me.
So I'm saying the I can't is words. If you try and you fail, then it's like, okay, maybe you can't. Let's see why.
And then there's a reason sometimes that things and the injuries or old things or whatever. And that's a different thing. Like, you could tell me, hey, I can't do it this way because that hurts my knee, because I've got to have a knee replacement or whatever.
Right.
It's like,
that's what I'm saying. You're like, oh, okay. Well, then let's see if we can modify.
Sense.
Right. But they tried.
Right. And that's the thing. And then if you just want to say it's because of whatever, and that's your excuse. Now, you just use
how can you improve it? How can you work around it? Right. How can you?
Because I've got my bad knee.
It's like Pete. It's like talking about.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, oh, okay. Oh, really? Your leg? Like, I remember that was right when I popped my ankle or whatever, and I was like sitting on the side of the mountain. He's like, "You rolling?" And I was like, "I popped my ankle. I'm not really gonna do much." And he's like, "Mm-hmm." And I was like, all right, I'll roll.
Well, see, and that's the thing. There's a level of that that's okay, but then there's a level of that that's not right either. Even though Pete is Pete,
Yeah, but what he was saying is like, okay, don't use then don't use it.
right?
Focus on something else.
Well, that's what I mean, and
Right.
that's the hard part of that. Also, there is like
I never said any of this was easy.
you want to go out there and you want to do it, but then now it's like, all right, we need you to change this, and it's like, well, I can't, and it's like, well, you're never gonna make it then. Period. I flat out know. Shout out, so right, that's been under my leg the whole time. Then I know you're not gonna make it. Like I can tell right now the way that you're putting up this kind of resistance very early on that you're not gonna make it to the end.
Can that person change though? Because you obviously you think they can.
I know they can.
So then
but then that's the thing. How many of those people deserve you chasing them till they make that change?
That's up to you, and that's your development.
That's the hard. That's what I mean. This is what I keep saying. That's the circle back every time, every day, every person. I have to run that algorithm
because turns out
because they don't care about me the way that I care about them in this way, but they do, but not exactly.
Because there is no jujitsu guide,
right? There's not one. It doesn't exist. Nobody is that. But you need to find somebody that you believe in, right, and have faith in. And that you trust, and that trusts you too. And that's the deal. I trust you, right? And so when you went out there and you told me what you wanted to do, it's like, all right, let's do it. We'll see. You know, this is what I think, and this is what you think. Cool, run it. I trust you. Then the results come back. It's like, all right, here's the results of that. What can we do now?
Right.
You know what I mean? So it's really tough in that way because you're easy to deal with like that. Like, that's what I'm saying.
But I wasn't 5 years ago.
Well, I didn't know you then, though.
That's what I'm saying. So there's seasons.
So
maybe you're not in the right season.
Well, then that's what I mean, though. The person that you left.
I'm sure there's people in my wake. Like, I'm sure there's people behind me.
Of course.
Yeah, I'm sure there's people that are behind me seeing stuff. And even if they're not, because I don't, like, that's the bridge you have to cross, is that, like, the opinion of one individual doesn't, and that's what I get back to what I was saying on my stuff, is that like maybe those people taught me what I needed to learn during that time period, but I just wasn't ready to hear whatever lesson it was that was there. Or maybe I didn't see the whole picture, or maybe they didn't, and maybe they didn't have the whole picture and I didn't. Like, it's on all of us.
No, there's a lot of it that's that, right? And so that's the biggest thing and like you said in the beginning, is your goal. But that's why you have to be honest, though. What is your goal? What do you want from this?
Me personally, the path.
Which is just anybody though. But that's what I mean. And then they'll tell you what they want.
I think that that's the answer.
But not everybody else does.
No,
right?
I know.
They'll tell you they want to win medals, or they want to get the black belt, or they want to get in shape, or they want to do, et cetera, et cetera.
When you get there, then what?
And yeah, exactly. Then
because it doesn't change your life.
Nothing's different now than it was before.
When you win the UFC World Championship, what do you do on Monday? What do you do on Sunday? What do you do Saturday night when you're done? Because I've been in the room with those guys too, not necessarily UFC champions, but I've been in the rooms with the guys that have won. And woo! But Monday still happens. Does it change anything not ultimately? I've also been in the room and been the guy that lost tragically. Is it that much different on Monday? It can be. But that's
really a lot different. That's what I mean. That is a lot different.
But that not what makes winning worth it when it comes down to it? Is the risk of what it could be?
Of course that's the difference, right? Of course it is. But then it's the mitigated risk over and over and over again forever. And you being the child, me being the adult, that's the game that we have to keep fighting back and forth. Like in that way.
Right, but you were once the child.
No doubt. That's how I know you're wrong.
But is anybody right? I don't know. We're way this thing has gone.
But that's what I mean.
The greatest. Like I've enjoyed this one.
But this is the kind of things that matter, though. These are the conversations that people really need to have with each other to understand, like, your core values or whatever. Even like, who are you as a person? Who are you? Do you believe this? Do you believe that? And like, we'll separate the politics or whatever. It's like, well, it's not politics. Stuff is not politics. It's who you are. It's your character. And then there's things that, whatever, we can get agree with or not agree with. It's not political at that point. You know, it's just like, I agree with this, I agree with that. I like this, I like that. I don't like this, I don't like that. That shouldn't make it something different. You know what I mean? But me knowing you and you having spoken to me honestly about yourself and what you're looking for, now I can try to actually serve you as your coach in a real way
Yeah.
because you've been honest with yourself about what you want.
Yeah.
But a lot of people haven't.
No, I know.
And so then you have to turn that mirror on them.
Sometimes they run away.
And they go away.
Yeah.
And that's the one that hurts when that
I think it's when
happens.
we attached it to, I mean, not to like get off on another wormhole, but like, I think that that's where when things were, and this is a sticky subject because I do believe it, but I don't.
Oh,
In the fact that like when you're attaching financial value to like martial arts only, like when you're paying for just jujitsu, that's where I think it gets weird, is because you can't teach these lessons and that be between you and your bread and your food and how you
it's the
feed your
hard part.
family.
No, it's a hard part
So
of it.
then it gets personal. And then you're like, oh, do you want me not to feed my kids? Learn this lesson. And you're like, yo, man, like they're just going through something. Like, let it happen. But like, I understand when that $150 is gonna be
It matters.
like that's my kids going to
yeah, that's my daughter's gymnastics.
Right.
That's Thomas's
Exactly.
baseball.
Exactly.
That's, you know, man.
That's where it gets weird.
Being able to go somewhere every month and do something for herself.
And I don't think that's a conversation that's really been had in the jiu-jitsu community because it's weird.
That's what I'm saying. It's like, this is my life. Everything that I do revolves around this. All the things that we do hinge on this being successful in some way, shape, or form. Now, I have the capacity, we both have the capacity to pivot if we need to. But that's what I mean. Everything that we do is in this field, some way, shape, or form. And so directing everything along that way for me and making it work correctly is the ultimate goal.
Well, and I don't think enough of people, when we're talking about inside the, like, say specifically the niche of jiu-jitsu, I don't think enough people that run this and what I'm talking about is that they're like, okay, I've got mats in a room and I'm open twice a day and all right, that's jiu-jitsu, pay me $150.
Right.
And so it's like, no, like it's a community. It's a, like, the whole, like, this is a, like, I know people that still call it a dojo. Like, I don't necessarily get into that because it gets into the weird, like, traditional martial arts stuff. But like, whatever people need to call it, like, that's their community. That's their everything. I was listening to Hickson's book, and like, it really kind of showed me the big takeaway I took from that book was like, oh, like, this thing's powerful. And this thing I'm talking about is jujitsu. Is that, like, I've heard other things that have gotten referenced this way, and I'm like, this has that same power to, like, change people. Like, we talk about it all the time, how jujitsu changed my life and this and that. And it's like, we kind of need to treat it that way because it can be used dangerously, and it has been used dangerously. And that I think is what, when we're talking about financial, I think that the money comes when it matters.
Definitely. But that's the hard part of it, is that you have to make money to be able to survive, to keep the doors open, to pay your bills,
Exactly,
to do all the stuff you want to do. And so the urge is to follow the trends,
right,
and to chase whatever's the hot new thing or whatever for people.
That's almost what everything's like.
That's not serving your people, though.
Exactly.
That's not serving your community. That's not being a good coach. That's not being a good leader, swaying with the times. And I'm guilty of doing it too, some, and that's what I'm saying.
Right.
I've realized that more, that because I've never been in me until now. Like, I've never been this guy until the last year.
Right.
Well, that's what I mean, though. Like, I've never had the opportunity to be in charge of so many things and having to be the one that everybody's kind of looking to.
But have you watched other people that have?
I have, and I've seen them do things that I disagreed with and thought were crazy and wrong, and now I'm trying to change it. And then some of it I did change and it's better. And then some of it I was like, okay, now I understand why that was that way. And so then I have to be willing to change my core beliefs or whatever that is, or then now I'm dealing with cognitive dissonance and not being honest about the situation that's in front of me. And then I'm who I'm telling everybody to look out for. You know what I mean? So, like, the thing is, the hard part is that How do I get you to understand the realness of everything, but also make it fun? Because that the gamifying it is what makes it stick.
The,
Otherwise,
the game is the jujitsu.
right.
Allow them to play the game.
But they don't know how.
Well, I mean, so if you're talking about somebody who the only thing that they've ever gotten is yours, then what they're playing is your version of the game.
Right. And I see stuff and I see people that, and this is what I mean. I see some of these people now that are playing it my way that have been with me and not really anybody else. And I'm like, okay, I'm not wrong.
Right. But is that not your ego speaking up?
Is it?
I don't know. And is it a bad thing?
I was about to say, is it? And then is that wrong
I
for
don't know.
me to know that I am doing things right and other people may not be doing it as correct as I am? Because that gives me the
What do you do with
awareness.
that information?
That is what helps me with the awareness of realizing when I may not be doing it correctly also. And what's giving me the information is just watching it play out.
So why rob your student of that?
Well, that's what I'm saying.
Because what makes the other guy wrong?
Well, that's not wrong. I guess that's what I'm saying. It's like, I'm not telling you that it's wrong. I'm just telling you that there could be, and there probably is a better way. Is
it better or another?
Better.
Better,
definitely better, more efficient, more effective.
Okay.
Maybe it does better for your retention, so you do make more money, and so it covers all those bases.
Right.
And this is a conversation Mandy and I kind of had yesterday about stuff too, like selling. And it's funny you said that, but like selling martial arts. How do you sell that to somebody? You know, I don't like one-day seminars for self-defense of people who don't already train or people who aren't like,
they don't work.
It doesn't. You don't know anything. You don't learn anything, and you can go out there and get hurt.
Time.
So there's that. And then programs for people like keeping secrets or not teaching people about this certain thing until they get to a certain paywall or until they get to a certain pay level. You can't, like, that to me seems dirty. Mm-hmm. I need you to know everything that you can know, even if this is a basics class or not, which means, and this is the thing, all these moves that everybody likes, all these really exotic moves, they all come off of the same things. They're all these core principles that I'm trying to get you to understand. But all you want to go do is damn get your brush and start sprinkling paint everywhere.
Does everybody learn that at the same rate?
Nobody learns anything at the same rate.
So exactly. So the thing is that like they're going to learn at that rate regardless. So if they want to go sprinkle their paintbrush out in the field, well, cool. If you think that's cool, but eventually you'll find
partner. What about their partner? They're getting rained on over here, and they don't even know what's going on. So now they assume this blue belt that knows more than they do is the one that's doing it right, and so they go down that same path wrongly, thinking they're right, and don't know that they're wrong.
You need the deeper culture.
It takes time,
yeah,
and that takes me going to this blue belt and sitting down and being like, "Hey, put that down." And do what I'm asking you to do right now.
Well, and I mean, no offense by this statement, but like, I mean, in years wise and in contemplation, like thinking about it that way, your gym's basically a blue belt.
No, for sure.
So like, that's what you're looking at is that like, you kind of have a room full, even though you may have higher belts in there at times,
no, for sure.
The culture is only a blue belt.
And so this is me still navigate. This is
right.
This is why I'm doing this.
I came from a fight team that was nothing but blue belts, and that's kind of how we looked like the meme.
That's what I'm saying. And once I get a few more years in the game with my team, then I'll have that.
Right.
You'll
have the brown belt that will say it for you.
It'll be set. That's what I mean. So it's just that same practice again. It's like I have to start over, and I have to be willing to listen to what other people are saying about how they do things to make it successful,
to make yours,
to make mine more successful,
or just to make yours in general.
Well, in general. But then that gives me the general structure.
Right.
But then from each of those people, if I ask you why you do a certain thing, and then you're like, well, it's just the way it's always been done, then I immediately want to discredit that, unless you know why. Why has it always been done? Why can't there be another way?
Not necessarily immediately.
Now I'm the person that this is what I'm saying is that I am the blue belt, and that's what I know that right now I'm the blue belt coach.
Yes. Okay.
And I get that.
Yeah.
But I do go talk to people, and I do listen to my mentors, and I do listen to my coaches, the coaches that
That's the
are
blue
over.
belt that you look at and you're like, oh, he'll be a black belt or she'll be a black belt.
That's what I'm saying. And so like that's what I mean. I'm out here and I'm doing the stuff, and I disagree with them about some things for sure. Don't get me wrong. But then the main parts of it all are always there.
Right.
They're always parts of the whole thing. But for me, for example, this is one of my biggest like pet peeves in the whole thing is that line shrimp, the shrimping down a straight line in the mats.
Okay, I wasn't gonna go there, but I was gonna ask you a question about something similar.
That gets on my nerves more than anything else.
Because it's not a shrimp.
Else. It's nothing.
Yeah.
I mean, you're learning how to move your body. Like we do in our kids class. I get them to shoulder walk so they learn how to slide their body down the mats and use their feet to push themselves straight and different things like that. Right. It's like to move space and move yourself down the mat. But shrimping in a traditional sense, or the way that a lot of people do it in that warm up, is terrible muscle memory.
They're pushing with the wrong
get you
leg
beat up. There's all kind of weird things that are going wrong because there's nobody holding you down. There's no weight on you, and we haven't done that. But for when people came in and like did a guest class, and that's what they asked our people to do, we haven't done that. And then I see our guys that have not been other places recovering guard on people, and it's like, oh, that was some really high level guard recovery.
And you have to create space inside of
you've never shrimped, or you just don't have to create space. You just don't have to give any away.
Right. That's what I mean. It's like you have to create space without losing
yourself in the right position the whole time. It's not about sliding my back down the mat to get away from this person to then try to come back into them. Like I'm just going to be
tired with them on top.
I'm only going to go just far enough to get what I need, and then I'm going right back into that space.
Hot take. That's why I think that Khabib's been able to put everybody up against the fence and hold him down. Not only is he a great wrestler and he shoots at the right time, but like when guys that he's gotten jiu-jitsu guys on their backs, they're trying to like shrimp away, and they're shrimping and they keep shrimping towards the cage. So, there's now a wall behind you.
Exactly.
Like,
it doesn't work.
Yeah.
And so that's what I mean. Everything works, but it doesn't work. And then, so what are you letting and this is why we haven't done it, but like the conditioning of that is like, well, it's just a warm up. It's like, I get it. But then why can't you do something else to warm your body up in a better way than that? Well, because, everybody does this. And it's like, okay, but why? Well, because it teaches you whatever. Is that, well, is anybody teaching during this time? No, nobody teaches. You just send them out there and let them do it. Yeah. Usually they just jump in and start. And one of the people will kind of tell them right before they start going.
I've seen one person explain to me why back rolls were important. And I was like, oh, that makes sense. And like putting your body in the like positioning and like doing it right. And he's like, you're all doing it wrong. You got to do it like this. And
right.
Like,
and that's what I mean.
Makes sense.
Rolling diagonally over your shoulder is important.
But just rolling backwards just 400 times
without it doesn't
until you're dizzy. Doesn't.
Right? Yeah, exactly.
You're never going to do that.
Rolling over your knees 1,000 times like that. Roll to your feet, get on your feet, squat.
Learning how to fall.
Roll again. Yeah. Roll. You know what I mean? It's not just like a free spinning roll or whatever.
What's your take on break falls?
I like break falls in the sense that it does teach you how to be thrown. If you've never been thrown before and stuff like that. I've seen where some of the people that you learn how to brace yourself in another way.
Yeah.
Like you can accept the takedown and not hurt yourself.
And just know,
move through it in space.
Being a wild kid in skateboarding taught me that. Like,
and so this is the difference though. Again, now we're talking about something between intuition that you can learn or something that you may need to show somebody a little bit.
Yeah.
Like, I need to show you this a little bit so you understand what you're doing. That way you don't just post with your arm completely straight out, because your intuition is to turn and put your arm straight out a lot of times. So unless they start at a young age, you have to teach them a way to fall safely.
That's why I always ask people, like, what did you do growing up? Were you an athlete? Were you like?
So if you wrestled as a kid,
if you
wrestled as a kid, then you don't need to worry about it that much, because you know how to fall and you've been taken down and people have landed on you and you've landed on your side and you've not landed on your head, or you've landed on your head before and you know not to do that. Like, that's the thing. These, again, 30-year-old guy, never done anything, afraid.
Yeah.
He's about to get thrown.
Well, and I know people too that like there's people that trash the break fall, and then like my homie Andy, that was like one of my original MMA coaches, like swears by break falls because like we used to longboard all the time, and he grew up longboarding and whatnot, and he'd fall off, and he's like, "I saved my life with a break fall," and I'm like,
Dude,
all right, yeah,
I believe in that's what I'm saying. I believe in them
Yeah.
to a degree. How important is it compared to other things you need to know? Maybe it's not the most important thing. I think that learning how to roll is more important than learning how to break fall.
Oh yeah,
Because if you can roll through things, that's the same. That's it.
well, you're in that scenario
So a
way
break-
more often,
Right,
Yeah.
exactly. So a break fall is more when you're just trying to like stop motion. And I don't know if that's always the right practice anyway, either. It's to always,
necessarily,
you
yeah.
know what I mean? Maybe you want to continue that motion to counter it. You know what I mean? You want to just stop
So then
it.
you have to reteach how to not stop, and then
Exactly. So that's mean there could be a bunch of different ways.
Which is why wrestlers would only want to. They're like, why would I stop the motion?
Right.
Like,
So
I don't want to
so there
stop
could
on
be
my
a bunch
back.
of different reasons people learn it. And then there's things like, well, you're talking about wrestling. This guy over here, he's been doing gi jiu-jitsu the whole time. And so if you do that, what you just said, he's just going to grab your lapel and your pants or whatever and pull you back.
Right.
Or you do it in no-gi, the wrestler guy's right because you can't hold him the same.
He's going to chase and he's going to
So-
be on your back.
So who's right? They both are. But then what's the context? And this is the thing that we always circle back into, the context. I'm right because I'm talking about this right now. And as your coach, this is me closing it down. I know what I'm talking about. You don't. You hear me telling you what I'm talking about. You're hearing what I'm saying. You don't know what's in my mind. I'm trying to express that to you. So you must stop and try to absorb that. It's not the words that I'm saying necessarily. That's just an expression of the thing in my head. And there's no way for you to know that until you know it for yourself. You know what I'm saying? And that's the thing. You gotta trust me enough to know that I know. And you don't.
Right.
And then make it work from there.
Well, and then you've got to trust your stuff enough to know that no, yeah, I know what I know.
Yeah, I know that this is right enough.
And be okay with it being and not being. I think that's the difference
That's
between
it.
the McDojo guy and like
You
somebody
can be
up there.
wrong,
Yeah.
right? You can be wrong.
The Detroit urban survival tactics guy got referenced by Mr. Strongbow back a while ago.
Okay. Sorry.
And
I don't see anything, guys.
Oh, you're good. This has been great. This has been entertaining for me, so
Is
I don't
it?
really care if y'all
How
had a
long
good
have I been
time.
talking? What time is it?
Hour 42. I can't see a clock.
Killer.
I did that on purpose.
It's killer season.
I'm doing
12,
like casino games here.
People texting me and stuff.
Ooh.
Oh, did we get the lease? Nope.
But the Detroit urban survival tactics dude that's like all on the internet,
spinning stuff, getting shot and whatever.
I think that the difference is that like that guy believes himself so much that like you're not gonna change that dude's mind. And so the thing is the best thing to do is go let that dude just be wrong, because then you can look and go, see,
pretty clear.
He's wrong. And so it's that you don't have to disprove it. And so I think, like I said,
that's what I'm saying.
It comes back to it's okay for him to be wrong.
And this is the thing that one of the things I picked up from Bill, the owner of the gym in San Diego. He was one of the boxing coaches or whatever and stuff. We were talking about people cross training and going to train other places. He was like, I really don't care, like fighters,
right,
about people cross training and going over and doing other things like that, unless they're in camp getting close to a fight. Then I want to like mitigate it. It's because that way we can control what we're thinking on and working on. But otherwise, I don't care. And I was like, well, what if they're gonna teach them something that's bad or whatever? He's like, well, then they're gonna know.
Yeah, you'll find out.
It's like they'll find out one way or the other. They didn't believe me, so they'll go over there and they'll find out. And it's like, damn, that's a hard lesson. And that's what I'm saying. It's like
life's full of,
and that's what I mean. It's like for me, I'm like, no, just let me save you. And it's
but
like, no, you can't save them, bro. You gotta sit here and watch it too.
Yeah,
I gotta sit here and watch you burn.
Yeah.
And it's like, you could have just trusted me, you know. And that's not the way the world works, though, baby. That ain't how it goes.
I don't care if anyone's enjoyed this show. The amount of reels that I'm gonna make, like that's the Star Wars reference right there. I mean, Obi-Wan had to stand there and watch Anakin burn alive because he didn't listen to him.
See, I don't even watch Star Trek.
let the internet have their way.
And I'll break fall on my way out if I want to.
Barimbolo.
That's right.
The other way.
It's all about those jefes, squares and triangles.
See, even something you disagreed with me though, it's come full circle. And
I don't
actually
agree.
Kind of agree on.
I don't agree.
Yeah, you do.
I fully disagree. I'm saying it to make fun of you.
Pyramids.
We were talking trash about you last night, and that how wrong you were with that. So
nice.
I've been laying into how wrong Isaac's been all week with his angles.
That's the goal.
It's a pyramid, guys. A pyramid is
made out of
triangles and a square.
Oh damn! Now you've gotten complicated and brought multiple triangles into this.
That's what it is. There's 4 of them, 1, 2, and then 3, 4. They're laid to one tip, and then they're on a square base.
So what if it's a 2-dimensional drawing of a pyramid?
Then it's not a real pyramid.
It's a representation.
Well, then you represent your ass whooped doing it wrong. Like, that's not a real pyramid. So that's what I'm saying. It's like you're trying to represent something that's not right. It's not a pyramid. So it's not going to have the same qualities and the same properties.
What about the pyramids in Mexico that are like a bunch of squares stacked on top of each other?
Well, that's because they've been worn down.
There's no triangle anymore?
It was a triangle. It is a triangle.
Yeah,
it's a terrace triangle.
Yeah. Oh, oof. Yeah. Geometry.
You know, it is what it is, right? It's the strongest shape in geometry. The triangle is.
Right.
So you put them together in certain ways at a big base, then that's a pyramid. That's why it's so strong. That's why they last.
Yeah, but like the representation of the drawing of the pyramid is to try to get the point across to the pyramid. So maybe what I'm trying to say is I'm just trying to find my painting to be able to get
2D pyramid is just a triangle.
We just evolved,
bro. Get with
live on the metaverse. Wait, no. What's YouTube's metaverse? It's all the metaverse. Don't let Zuckerberg lie to you.
I'm in the Stephen verse. Y'all are in the dream verse now.
Ooh, all right.
LLC. Some of these dream NFTs. I don't know when they're coming out. I don't even know anything about them yet.
It's happening.
They're gonna be dope.
Oh, it's gonna be
the best NFTs you ever seen. Speaking of which, I guess we can like wrap up a couple of things. But I am sort of involved in trying to be a part of learning a lot about these NFT projects that are going on with some of the jiu-jitsu community. The Ape Shakas, which is Drew's. He was on here talking about that. And then the new drop is going to be Kent Peters, the Crypto Zombies. That's going to drop February 15th for the public and the 14th for the whitelist people. If you don't know what those things mean, you got to come into the Discords or whatever.
You need an Ape Shaka.
Yeah, that'll be the best way to get that, or other ways that you probably don't have enough time to do in the meantime. And then obviously the PGF NFTs that are coming out for this last season, all the different like trading cards and stuff like that.
Those are going to be dope.
It's gonna.
Have they shared? I have trouble keeping up with what's behind the wall,
real and what's not real.
But like, have they shared what the moments are going to look like?
I know. No, I don't think I've seen that
yet.
Yeah,
it's gonna be dope. So, like they're gonna have like the moments. It's kind of like NBA Top Shot, but it's gonna look super dope. Like Keelan's like all up in his little creative bat cave, just like
going ham.
Like, oh, it's wild. It's gonna be dope.
Like that's what I'm saying. So there's a bunch of different things going on with that. So jump into those Discords for Ape Shakas, Crypto Zombies, for Brandon McCatherine.
It's Brandon MC.Ninja.
He's got his thing going on. All those are going to tie in together, which would then somehow, I'm sure, be tied into whatever projects that we end up working on once we understand more of it.
It's all becoming a thing. I had a lunch meeting that's super exciting.
We're in the field with these folks. We out here working and trying to be a part of it all. So you guys stick with us and you'll be a part of it all too. We love you guys so much. From Parkway Automotive Studios.
Ooh, man. Nice plug.
Representing the Musgrove Trial Firm, 678-226-1994. And Isaac Stackhouse, Stephen Eakin. Out.
We're out.